Hello everybody, welcome back to more 428 Shibuya Scramble. Last time we got through some of the 12 to 1 p.m. block. We saw who did we say? We saw Kano. He finished his. We also finished Achi. No, we didn't finish Kano, actually. We finished Minorikawa. He was headed to the Burning Hammer demonstration. We finished off Achi, I believe. Yeah. And then we also saw, we also finished off Tama, where all of the bottles of Burning Hammer are broken. So that just leaves us with finishing Kano's Kano's storyline, and also seeing what Osawa is up to. So let's see if we can finish Kano's. Thinking back to the way Tateno had put his life on the line to rescue a bunch of strangers made Kano feel all the more raw about just tailing these syndicate members. Moving the mouth closer to the mic. Letting the crooks just wander around wasn't going to bring Miria Osawa to safety. Of that, Kano was now certain. Shoot, it's bleeding pretty fast. He heard someone say behind him. He turned and saw two young men carrying another along. That should be two young men, I think. Is that a typo? He turned and saw two young men carrying another along. There was a towel wrapped tightly around the third's head. Hey, what happened? Kano asked. Shut your mouth! Kano blanched. Can the attitude. He's trying to help. Another voice cut in. It was Sasayama. Alright. Few typos. Ain't no problem for a guy like me. Had he finished dealing with the girl by the station then? What happened to your friend? Out of my way, man. I ain't afraid to kick your ass. Look, cut the crap and let me take a quick look. Sasayama unwrapped the towel from around the young man's head. Oh, that's nasty. The young guy was little more than a kid. His head was soaked red with blood. He appeared to be unconscious. They couldn't just leave him like this, but they were in the middle of a job. They should probably call Juvenile Affairs. Part of the Communal Safety Section, which handles crimes pertaining to public decency, finances, pollution, and so on. Juvenile Affairs deals with the misconduct and criminal activity involving minors. Since many of SOS members are underage, the Shibuya Precinct Juvenile Affairs Division has been ramping up its efforts to deal with the gang. Although one detective in particular has been using this as an excuse to go on patrol at arcades, ignoring his duties in order to fuel his video game addiction. I wonder if we'll see that guy. Kano took out his cell phone so he could call the precinct, but Sasayama stopped him, then showed the two youngsters his badge. Oh crap, you a cop? Sasayama nodded. Who you kids with? Vamps? Shibuya's number 2 gang. Its leader, Sohei Ikari, has gathered up some big mean dudes in an attempt to make Shibuya his turf. gang's leadership is inferior to that of SOS, but on an individual level, its members tend to be stronger in a fight. Word is that the Yo, it ain't like that! What was it like then? Infighting? The young man was silent. Sasayama must have been right on the mark. In the course of his police duties, Kano picked up a fair amount of street gossip from the young people in Shibuya. Lately, the scuttlebutt around the legendary SOS gang was that they were dealing with some internal strife. Look, don't worry about it. I get it. There's a hospital just down that way. Hurry up and get him there. The young man batted off Sasayama's offered hand, then quickly hauled his friend away. Sounds like SOS is on the verge of breaking up with all this infighting, huh? Kano asked. He kept his eyes on the young men as they headed off. Yeah, seems like it's been pretty rough. You know, what with the original leader leaving and all. The detectives in juvenile affairs were well acquainted with SOS's original leader. That would be Achi Endo. Incidentally, SOS was nothing more than a small group of like-minded young people who hung out together, but as its membership grew, the general public began referring to the group as a gang. Word has it that back when Achi was in charge, gang members never started any conflicts themselves, but simply responded in kind when others brought fights their way. The stories were like something out of an after-school special. There were tales of them taking down gangs who sold drugs to kids, or breaking into Yakuza front offices to save their friends. The detectives with juvenile affairs took these stories with a grain of salt, but if there really were young people like that out there, Kano hoped to meet them someday. I think Kano did meet Achi at one point, just not on good terms. The detectives had to hurry to catch up with the man they were tailing. He was still strolling along, seemingly in no particular hurry. They kept him in sight as he crossed another pedestrian overpass and circled back around. Still following the same MO, huh? Sasayama grumbled. Guess so, Kano said. How'd things go with the girl? He was careful not to take his eyes off the mark as they talked. You were right. She's not part of this. Just one of those street evangelists or something. Oh yeah? Yeah, she kept asking me, but are you really happy with your life? Wait me out. I bailed out of there quick. Are you really happy with your life? So, Sasayama? I'm thinking the attaché case is going to get handed off again at any moment now. Huh? Sasayama appeared at the mark, who was scanning the plaza he'd just entered, apparently looking for someone. I take one side, you take the other? Kano suggested. Sasayama's eyes went wide. Say what now? That way, we apprehend both perps involved with the handoff. Sasayama didn't reply. Look, HQ isn't thinking about the hostage's safety. Look, HQ isn't thinking about the hostage's safety, Kano said. But that needs to take priority here. Sasayama's face took on a rare solemnity. Disobeying a direct order is not something to do lightly. Order is... A detective's behavior is governed by the Local Public Service Act. Article 32 states that a detective is to faithfully follow the orders of his superior in the course of his duties. Violating this is punishable by a warning, reduction in pay, suspension from duty, or dismissal. In the event of a warning, not only is the individual expected to submit a formal letter of apology, but pay raises may be delayed or performance bonuses cut. That is a very serious... It's a very serious thing to disobey a direct order is. Then, after a moment, he added, but I'm on board. I'm sick of all this wandering around anyway. That's the Sasayama I know, Kano replied with a chuckle. Sasayama gave him a silent thumbs up. two detectives took up position on opposite sides of the plaza. Kano called up Sasayama on his cell phone. "You ready?" he asked. "Just give the word." There were only two non-Japanese people in the nearby crowd. Both were eyeing their surroundings anxiously. Kano was certain the handoff was about to take place. Then... Well, 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 if it isn't Mr. Toyama! Kano's ears perked up at the sound of an aggressive greeting, the voice dripping with feigned cheer. Oh, shit. He whirled around to see two rough-looking young men confronting a father and his daughter. The older man looked pained. "Please, just hold on," he said placatingly. "I thought we agreed on 4 o'clock. The young man snarled. "Don't you try and play dumb with us, buddy." "It's nothing like that, I swear. My girl was just hungry, so I just stepped out to..." "Yeah? How come you just didn't order delivery, huh?" "Ah, yes, right. I suppose that would work out too." "Don't you me, man?" Kano watched the argument uneasily. The stranger's altercation put him in a bit of a spot. The crook he was tailing probably wouldn't risk handing off the case with an uproar like this going on. "What's going on over there?" Sasayama asked. "I'm not sure," Kano replied. "Looks like some kind of argument. The suspects are going to get wary on us. It's going to screw up the whole handoff." "Yeah, I know." "So do something about it and get over here," Sasayama said. "What?" "Find some way to shut them up and then get over here." "Oh, sure, all right." Kano headed toward the argument. He was only halfway there when Sasayama called again. He sounded panicked. "Hey, Kano!" He made a run for it. "Huh? Oh, crap." The man they'd been tailing had vanished in the brief time Kano had taken his eyes off of him. "Wait up!" Kano shouted. Sasayama was racing after the suspect and Kano rushed to join him. The man was surprisingly quick, however, and neither detective managed to catch up. In fact, they soon lost sight of him amidst the teeming crowds. Frantically, they dashed through the streets as fast and as hard as they could. "We lost him," Sasayama admitted at last. "Damn it!" He stamped his foot in the asphalt in disgust. "Director Kuze?" Kano gasped over the wireless. "I'm sorry, but we lost the man with the attaché case." There was a heavy sigh on the other end of the line. Kano braced himself. He wasn't going to be able to weasel out of this one with just an "I'll do better next time." "Sasayama, Kano, get your asses back to the precinct. Kuze out." With that, Kuze switched off the line. Back to the precinct. Kano knew full well what they had meant. They were off the case. There was a gnawing in his gut. If those two punks hadn't showed up, no. That father and his daughter hadn't turned up, he might have been able to apprehend the suspect. Uh-oh. Don't let it get you down, Sasayama said. I mean, paper pushing can be kind of fun. The look on his face, however, suggested he didn't think it was fun at all. Not one bit. With the air of two men heading to an execution, Kano and Sasayama trudged back toward the Shibuya precinct. Uh-oh. Back to the precinct. Let's see what they have to say. Kano was taken off the case because he lost track of the suspect thanks to a random altercation nearby, and his glum conclusion was correct. If that father-daughter duo hadn't shown up, this wouldn't have happened. A certain someone needs to give those two some better advice, and a certain other someone needs to meet up with them outside his or her house. Both of those are key to changing poor Kano's fate. A certain someone needs to give those two some better advice. A certain other someone needs to meet up with them outside his or her house. So I need to tell them to head back home. Well, no, Midoriyama. Minoridama. Why did I think his name was Minoridama? Minorikawa needs to tell them to need someone. Yeah, he needs to tell them to go back. Yeah, go home or go back to the office. You need to get back to the office ASAP. The office? But they'd find me there for sure. Toyama's voice was a little more than a pathetic whimper. It's a little bit of reverse psychology. The last place the debt collectors are going to think you went back is the office, right? Ah, I see, Toyama said. He sounded impressed by the suggestion. For now, just stay hidden until I can get these articles finished. All right, Toyama said weakly. He hung up. Minorikawa let out a deep sigh, then turned back to his laptop. Okay. Is Wiswash. Well, it seems that so Minorikawa told him to go home or to go back to the office, and now a certain someone has to meet them there. And this is at the 1235 block. So a certain someone needs to give those two some better advice, and a certain other someone needs to meet up with them outside his or her house. House! House! Who's in the house? Osawa's in the house. Anyways. State of Israel. King Solomon. What? The rain won't let up. No matter how much time passes, it just won't stop. Ever since that day, the sound of raindrops has been burned into my mind. Such an awful, heart-rending sound, driving me to strip my life down to shadows. And yet, no matter what else I abandon, nothing will make the sound of the rain stop. That's a weird filter they have in the photo. Osawa stared at a postcard that was nestled into the final page of the photo album. He'd purchased it 2 years earlier while on a trip with Maria to the Middle East. Originally used to indicate Iran, Afghanistan, and the region surrounding them, in modern times the term refers to part of southwestern Asia, excluding India and Afghanistan, and the section of the northeastern Africa along the Mediterranean coast. However, in Japan as well as the US, the term Middle East is often understood to refer specifically to those parts of the region with a strong Islamic influence. He'd mentioned that he was being sent there on business, and Maria had just blurted out, "I want to go with you." She'd recently developed an interest in the Middle East conflict, and apparently she had been yearning to see the area firsthand. The ongoing friction in the Palestine region between the Jewish people who had founded the nation of Israel and the Arabs who had been living there previously. The religious and historical context of this cultural clash is well beyond the scope of what can be elucidated here. Fuck me, man. This game is weird to play in 2026. His daughter's newfound curiosity had taken him aback. She had always tended to be quiet and self-contained. The clumsy conversations aboard the airplane, the meals eaten together in awkward silence. It all felt like such a distant memory to Osawa now. "Ma'am, I'm afraid I can't let you do that." He heard Kajiwara's voice outside the door. "Why ever not? I'm just going out for a bit." The detective was arguing with Ai. Great. "And just who was it who told me I should try to go about my life as normal, Osawa's wife sneered. "Ma'am, please, How would you feel about being told just to sit around and wait?" Ai's angry shriek jerked Osawa to his feet. He hurried from the study to try to calm her down. Ma'am, please wait." But by the time Osawa had made his way downstairs, his wife had already stormed outside, despite Kajiwara's attempts to stop her. Osawa doubted anything he could have said would have stopped Ai from leaving. Trying to physically keep her from going out would only have made for an even worse uproar. He was glad that at least it hadn't come to that. He was turning to head back to the study when Kajiwara caught his eye. Resigned, he headed down the stairs and bowed to the detective. Bong. Man, these two look sick. "Any idea where she's going?" Kajiwara asked. "I mean, at a time like this?" Osawa shook his head. "I wouldn't know. I didn't think so. You know, your wife really is something else." Osawa arched an eyebrow. "That's one way to describe her. A rather rude way, as a matter of fact." "Oh, no offense intended. It's just that, ever since this case started, you've both been holed up in your own respective rooms." The more Kajiwara spoke, the more irritated Osawa became. "What's your point?" he demanded. "I just mean, you haven't been, having any marital discourse." According to one survey, in roughly 6% of households, discourse between spouses is largely non-existent. Various reasons for this were offered by the couples in question. Many claimed that they were too tired to have the energy to talk, or stated, "We wind up fighting when we talk," or "We have nothing to talk about." Mind your own business, Osawa snapped. Kajiwara dipped his head deferentially. The two of us not talking isn't a new thing anyhow, Osawa added. I have a policy of not having pointless conversations. It is quite common for Kenji Osawa to make it through an entire day without having a single conversation. On many days, he opens his mouth only to eat or brush his teeth. His current record is a streak of 14 consecutive days during which he didn't talk to anyone. Jeez. Huh. It didn't look as though Kajiwara quite understood. Microorganisms such as viruses don't have conversations, and yet still they continually propagate in order to survive. Thinking about viruses, Osawa was back in familiar territory. He felt a surge of confidence. Once you have a clear purpose, conversation is unnecessary. And do you have a clear purpose for the relationship with your wife, Mr. Osawa? Of course I do. To be a family. Arms crossed, Kajiwara struck a thoughtful pose. At least I've learned one useful thing today, Mr. Osawa. Namely, that you don't like to have pointless conversations. It's a good thing to know. Kajiwara uncrossed his arms for a moment, then crossed them right back again, furrowing his brow. But see, that's funny. You seem to have a tendency to have pointless conversations with me, and because you keep coming to talk to me. Osawa saw red. You don't leave me much of a choice. Tanaka poked his head out of the living room. Is something the matter? He asked. No. Osawa struggled to regain his calm. Perfect timing, actually. There's something I need to talk to you about. He turned back to Kajiwara. My apologies, detective, but would you mind giving us some privacy? Kajiwara didn't move. Detective? Osawa gave the policeman a hard look and saw him crack a smile. Yes, what is it? Kajiwara said at last. Don't you play dumb with me. Give us some privacy. Is this a discussion I shouldn't overhear? Actually, yes, it's work-related. There are business matters I'd prefer to keep confidential. Ah, I see. Reluctantly getting to his feet, Kajiwara slipped away into the living room. Tanaka, Osawa began, about those emails. He stopped abruptly. Kajiwara had reappeared in the living room door, staring right at them. What are you doing? Osawa demanded. Oh! Should I not be watching? Osawa felt like he was about to burst a blood vessel. I mean, you never told me that I couldn't watch. Because it should be obvious. The detective made a scolded puppy face, then closed the living room door. Osawa let out a heavy sigh. He'd never been an extrovert, but he didn't recall human interaction being quite this draining. Anyway, sir, Tanaka prompted, you were saying? Yes, about those emails. Something doesn't make sense. I don't understand how Mr. Makino was able to get the antiviral agent to anyone on the outside. Sharing an Okoshi Pharmaceuticals drug with external sources while it was still under development required the approval of an executive committee that included Osawa himself. There should have been no way the antiviral could be sent out without his knowledge. Tanaka hesitated a few moments before responding. Are you aware of the strife between the company president and the chairman? Osawa shook his head. He was a researcher through and through. Factional rivalries held no interest for him whatsoever. Makino effectively leads the chairman's team, and the antiviral agent is their pet project. Despite being the executive officer in charge of the project, however, Makino still needs the president's approval to... You know what? Forget about that right now. What do we do about security? In theory, it was physically impossible to get the antiviral out of the lab without detection. Entry to the biohazard laboratory where it was kept required fingerprint authentication from both Osawa and Tanaka. Technology that allows an individual's identity to be verified by scanning the fingerprints. It is one element of biometrics, the measurement of physical characteristics to identify individuals. There are even devices that can identify people by checking the veins in the palms of their hands or the irises of their eyes. That was loud. That was way too loud. Without the two of them there, nobody could even get into the storage facility. Because a dangerous virus is also stored there, the lab where the antiviral is kept is protected by an ID checkpoint, as well as a sophisticated 3-tiered lock system that requires a fingerprint authentication. Multiple security guards are also posted outside the laboratory entrance 24 hours a day, making it all but impossible for an unauthorized person to get into the secured storage area. Tanaka followed his drift. Ah, yes, I see what you mean. He inclined his head in thought as Osawa continued. Let's check the entry logs for the storage section. Anyone who wanted to get inside had to present their ID card to the security guard on duty. It should be possible to check the computer logs to see if there had been any suspicious activity in the system. Tanaka shook his head. I already checked the logs, sir. There was no evidence of anything suspicious. You're welcome to check for yourself, though, if you're that worried. No, I believe you. Yet the fact was that the antiviral had been used for clinical testing. Either Makino had taken it from the laboratory personally, or someone working on his orders had done so. But how? Was there really some way they could have bypassed lab security without anyone else knowing? Osawa couldn't think how it would be possible. The living room door opened with a soft creak. It was Kajiwara. He looked stiff and pale. Something terrible has happened, he said. Visions of tragedy flooded Osawa's mind. Maria, is she? Kajiwara shook his head. No, it's not that. What is it then? Osawa asked, his voice trembling. Sir, I need you to stay calm. Osawa swallowed the lump in his throat. You see, the toilet's clogged. Oh, brother. The toilet's clogged. Plunger in hand, Osawa stabbed vigorously at the recalcitrant toilet bowl, struggling to loosen the unseen blockage. The cleaning utility implement consisting of a soft hemispherical rubber suction cup attached to the end of a dowel. By pressing the cup over the opening of a drain that has been clogged, one can apply suction pressure to jostle the blockage free. Makes a variety of sounds when used, such as glub, glork, schluck, schlorp, schloop, and pop. That is definitely a description for the word plunger. Kajiwara was at his side, wiping up the floor with a rag. How did this even happen? The detective groaned. Are you kidding? I was hoping you could tell me that. The plunger sucked and slurped at the porcelain basin. This was a first for Osawa. He'd never tried to unclog a toilet before in his life. Think of it as a blessing in disguise, Mr. Osawa. What the hell are you talking about? What about this constitutes a blessing? I just meant that at least this happened before you needed to, do your business. Without the slightest hint of guile on his face, Kajiwara picked up his bucket and headed for the sink back in the washing area. Grumbling to himself, Osawa pumped the plunger over and over again. This was almost funny. Almost ridiculous, in fact. His daughter had been kidnapped, and he was stuck unclogging a toilet. He was quite possibly caught up in a major corporate conspiracy, and here he was unclogging a toilet. Tanaka poked his head into the bathroom. Did you fix it yet? If you need to urinate, then just use the restroom on the second floor. That's alright. Here's fine. Can I get some rainbow flags in the chat, please? Tanaka stepped in beside him and abruptly shut the bathroom door. Now the two men were crammed together in the narrow lavatory. Or lavatory. Hey, Osawa hissed. What the hell are you doing? Tanaka made eye contact with Osawa via the mirror. He spoke in a hushed voice. I've been waiting for a moment I could get you alone. I think that's the pan flag, not the gay flag. What? Tanaka sidled around to face him, giving him an intense stare. Sir, could you please be quiet for a moment? Tanaka had tears in the corners of his eyes. This will only take a moment. Osawa could feel the warm breath of his deputy whispering against his cheek. Tanaka reached for something inside his coat. Fuck it. Alright, do as you wish. Osawa closed his eyes. Alright, do as you wish. Osawa closed his eyes. Are you sure you're ready for this? I'm not sure. This is all happening pretty fast. To be honest, I'm rather nervous. I understand, sir. I mean, now that I think of it, we do spend day in and day out of that lab together. I suppose this was bound to happen sooner or later. Bro, what the fuck is happening? Sir, could you please open your eyes? I'd like you to look at this. You'll have to forgive me. This is all a bit sudden. Please, sir, take a look. No, I can't. It's just the two of us. It's probably going to shock you, I know, but please, just look. Is it really that shocking? Oh, yes. Very. Now, please, open your eyes. Okay. No, I can't! Sir, trust me, this isn't easy for me either. Alright. Bracing himself, Osawa opened his eyes. Tanaka thrust out his cell phone. Here, take a look at this. Huh? Osawa blinked, bewildered, then refocused on the phone. He could never have anticipated what he saw on the LCD screen. Oh. Where was the keep out? Or where was the jump? Are you the jump? Yes, you're the jump. Tomi began typing out a response. Achi watched over her, wild speculations running through his mind. There was no way a mild-mannered young lady like her would be dating one. Okay. Father. Here, take a look at this. Huh? Osawa could never have anticipated what he saw on the LCD screen. It was an email from Hitomi. Stifling an exclamation, he scanned the contents of the message. There's a man following me. He has a gun and I think he's trying to kill me. I'm safe for the moment, so try not to worry. The kidnapper warned me, told me not to contact my family or the police. Please keep this email a secret. But didn't Hitomi give the kidnapper the ransom? Osawa said. What could anyone want with her now? Tanaka shook his head, uncertain. You wouldn't know any better than I would, I suppose. Do the police know about this? And if so, why haven't they said anything? He felt himself starting to tremble as he searched for answers in Tanaka's silent gaze. Do you think this could be related to that other thing? I doubt it. If it were, why would they got after Hitomi? I suppose you're right, but Osawa was shaking outright now. Tanaka laid a hand on his shoulder. First, just calm down and let's think about what we know about the kidnapper. His composure helped Osawa keep himself under control. That is an excellent angle. They've taken Maria, the vice director continued quietly, along with a ransom of 50 million yen. And now they're after Hitomi. His gaze sharpened. Sir, do you think that this could be someone who holds a personal grudge against you? Grudge? Osawa considered. He couldn't think of anyone who would have a reason to attack him. He'd been too caught up in virus research since his time in school to have formed any hostile rivalries. He didn't have any enemies that he knew of. Maybe someone's jealous that I became head of a laboratory? He suggested doubtfully. He had held his position for years at this point. Why would that spur someone into kidnapping his daughter now? Has anything happened recently? Tanaka asked. Anything strange since you got back from overseas? Since I got back? Osawa's heart skipped a beat, then started pumping faster. The first thing that came to mind was the solicitation he'd gotten from the American laboratory. If he accepted the offer, it would put Akoshi Pharmaceutical in quite a bind. Possibly enough to warrant someone holding a grudge over it. But the only other person who knew about the potential transfer right now was his wife, I. No, Osawa said. Nothing. Not that I can think of. He couldn't bring himself to discuss the transfer with Tanaka. He felt a surge of guilt for contemplating leaving behind his trusted assistant behind. If he did make the move to America, he planned to recommend that Tanaka replace him as department director. Still, he didn't expect that to make up for his abandonment. Alright, I'll see what information I can find then, Tanaka said. The kidnapper had forbidden any contact with either family or the police. But Tanaka was outside of that circle, and he knew how to handle himself with discretion. I'm sorry to have put this on you, Osawa said. And thank you. For now, let's see if we can get Hitomi to exchange some more emails. An uncomfortable thought suddenly occurred to Osawa. He blurted it out without thinking. Why do you have my daughter's contact information on your phone? Tanaka gave him a worried look. Sir, I promise I can explain once all this is over. And with that, he stepped out of the bathroom. Something in the tone of his final words left Osawa to wonder. Could it be that Tanaka and Hitomi were dating? He hoped dearly for that not to be the case. Their age difference alone made the idea a disturbing one, let alone so many other considerations. Mamoru Tanaka is 40 years old, Hitomi is 19. This makes him just over twice her age. This does not necessarily mean, however, that they could not date or fall for each other. Many couples with such an age difference between them wind up in a happy, committed relationship. Trying to put aside his paranoia, Osawa resumed his struggle with the clog in the toilet. Most toilet clogs are caused by a buildup of flushable paper products or by solid objects inadvertently dropped into the toilet bowl. But shockingly enough, on very rare occasions, they can be caused by someone taking a dump that happens to be that big that it gets stuck in the pipe. Apologies to anyone who might be eating right now. On rare occasions, you say? Clearly, you have never been to North America, specifically the United States of. Oh, goodness. Kajiwara reappeared, still toting the bucket. You seem to be having a lot of trouble there, sir. He made it sound like the whole mess was Osawa's fault. Of course I am. I've never had to do this before. Really? Really? I think the research you would do would be a lot more difficult than this. Really? Fixing toilets gives me far more trouble, I'd say. So it would seem. Kajiwara stood watching, as if Osawa's efforts made an interesting show. I don't know the first thing about viruses, sir, but I don't find unclogging toilets to be that difficult. Oh yeah? Osawa snapped. Then how about you fix the damn thing? Kajiwara really was a world-class pro at pissing people off. Are you sure? You don't mind? The detective asked. Be my goddamn guest. Osawa shoved the plunger into Kajiwara's hand. Leaving the detective to handle the toilet, Osawa marched back to his study. He turned on the CD player and lay back on the sofa, squeezing his eyes shut. He was seriously on edge. Kajiwara had totally broken his stride. What now? The door to the study slid slowly open. It's Detective Kajiwara, sir. Please don't come in here without asking. My apologies, Mr. Osawa. I just wanted to inform you that the toilet has been fixed. Right, fine. Osawa hardly cared. He just wanted this guy to give him a little peace. Oh my, is that really all you have to say, sir? Nary a compliment or an encouraging word? You should get that glove off. Maybe a good job, Kajiwara, or you're getting a promotion, detective? Osawa blew out his breath in exasperation. How? How are you a detective? I'm not sure I get your meaning, sir. You are completely clueless. I'd like to ask your superiors to replace you with a detective who knows how to take his job seriously. Mr. Osawa, with all due respect, it's unusual for a precinct detective like me to be stationed here at a victim's home. What's your point? Not to brag, sir, but I happen to be an exceptional detective. Kajiwara beamed with pride. In fact, I made an excellent showing in the Superstar Detective contest we had on our police social media service. An online platform whose primary feature is allowing people to connect with one another. The police-exclusive social media network that Kajiwara belongs to, Poxy, is very strictly regulated, with any abusive language, slander, sexual content, or lame jokes deleted almost immediately. For a moment, Osawa thought the bolt of incredulous anger that shot through him was the onset of a stroke. How could a single person be so utterly infuriating? And you can't tell anyone about this, Hajiwara went on obliviously. But this summer, a new detective manga is starting up, based on me. Planned for serialization in the MPD's monthly PR magazine. The chapter titles have already been decided. Chapter 1, The Fabled Detective Kaji. Chapter 2, Kaji Howls at the Sun. Chapter 3, Kaji Rides the Rails. Chapter 4, Kaji at Daybreak. Chapter 5, Detective Kajak. Chapter 6, Kaji, Queen of the Street. Chapter 7, Look Out, Kaji. Chapter 8, Kaji, On the Edge. Chapter 9, Dance, Kaji, Dance. Chapter 10, Space Detective Kaji. And so forth and so on. Osawa spat out a peal of feigned laughter. A manga? I can tell you all about the plot, sir. Would you like to hear about it? I would not. It's about a telecommunications detective who solves major crimes just using his wits and his computer. Surely you'd like to hear about that, sir. I really wouldn't. I know I may not look it, but I'm pretty handy with computers. Hajiwara's eyes drifted over to Osawa's desktop. His hand darted to the mouse. In a matter of moments, he cleared the screensaver and booted up a web browser. Hey, Osawa barked. Don't touch that. But he was too late to stop the detective. The monitor showed the page for AyaNet, a fan page devoted to Aya Kamiki. Osawa's imminent rage stroke was beginning to make his vision grow fuzzy. You come to this site regularly, sir? Regularly? Well, I'm not sure I'd... Osawa trailed off, feeling the heat of a blush flare on his cheeks. There's a lot of stuff on this site. Is there a section you primarily spend time on? Well, I mean, for my part, I really only go for the fan forums and for folks 40 and over. Aha! With a twinkle of curiosity in his eyes, Kajiwara peered at the computer screen. Having his privacy invaded to this degree was the ultimate disgrace. All right, Osawa huffed. You're an amazing detective, Kajiwara. Just incredible. I see you in a new light now. Now would you please... just get the hell out of my room. He tried to usher Kajiwara back out the door. All right, sir, the detective said. All right, I understand. I'll leave. But before that... Kajiwara slipped his hand into his pocket. I don't need a damn banana. It's not that, Mr. Osawa. I have something that I think may be important to you. He held out a small plastic... Is that a boarding pass? Inside was a scrap of paper of some sort. What's that? Osawa asked. This is what was clogging the toilet, sir. With some hesitation, Osawa took hold of the bag. Huh? That's... The passenger name here is listed as Kenji Osawa. In the plastic bag was a plane ticket. Specifically, the one for his upcoming flight to the US the following week. He left it out on his desk. How had it wound up getting flushed down the toilet? This looks like it's pretty important, sir, Kajiwara said. I must say it was pretty careless of you to accidentally flush it. A wry sort of smile came to his face. Although, the detective added, I suppose the question of who flushed it is another matter entirely. Osawa was at a loss for words. Someone had tried to flush his plane ticket on purpose. He was sure of it. He knocked on the door to Ai's room, but there was no response. Yeah, I was expecting that, like sometime during this chapter. That was a pretty good one. He knocked the door to Ai's room, but there was no response. It didn't look like she'd gotten back home yet. Osawa let himself in. The stinging scent of her perfume pervaded the room, which was decorated all in white. Clothes were strewn all about as if to put on her slovenliness on display. She'd been like this ever since they'd gotten married, and Osawa had long since stopped caring. It must have been Ai who tried to flush the ticket. He knew she didn't want him going to America, but still, couldn't she have found a better way to get rid of it? Thanks to her, he'd been stuck hunched over the damn toilet, fighting with the plunger. Osawa sat down on the bed amidst the brand name clothing. Then he spotted something odd down by his feet. It was a gold cigarette lighter. Just when had I picked up smoking? Osawa picked up the lighter and set it on the shelf next to the bed. He started out of the room, but stopped as he noticed a scrapbook on the bookshelf. The rest of the shelf was filled with fashion magazines, so the scrapbook definitely drew his eye. Curious, he took it down and opened it. The book was filled with articles and write-ups about the results of Osawa's research and the company's various achievements. Flipping through the pages took him on a trip down memory lane. There was even an old company memo welcoming Tanaka on board as his new vice director. There was a photo of Osawa shaking Tanaka's hand at the party, celebrating his new position. It was a little peculiar to think that she had bothered to keep something so trivial. A series of magazine articles was nestled between the pages further into the book. These hadn't been clipped out for inclusion in the scrapbook itself. Osawa glanced through them. Floundering Akoshi Pharmaceutical arranges marriage of political convenience. It was a self-indulgent piece from some rag called 4-Star General Gossip from right after he and I had gotten married. When the piece had first rung, he'd been too furious to read it. Now he gave it a quick looking over. It was pretty much exactly what he'd expected. It talked about how one of the corporate directors had sacrificed his own daughter in order to keep one of his researchers on the board, allowing someone else to come to harm for one's personal gain. In this case, the term is used figuratively, not literally. Referring, of course, to Makino offering Osawa Ai's hand in marriage. Rumors abound of marital strife between the newlyweds. The article went on to talk about how Ai had been dating another man before she and Osawa had gotten married. The whole thing was a bunch of puerile rubbish. Any marriage involved some kind of calculated self-interest, after all. Whatever the reasons for their union, nothing changed the fact that I was now his wife. With a faint sigh, Osawa put the scrapbook back on the shelf. Feeling disconsolate, he returned to his study and began flipping through his CD rack. His eyes scanned for Aya Kamiki's album For Tomorrow Forevermore. A lot of her more experimental numbers were on that album. Given how discombobulated he felt right now, this was what he needed to hear. Again, Osawa reflected there'd been a time when he didn't care about music at all. He'd simply purchased copies of the most popular CDs of the moment as birthday presents for his two girls. And that had just happened to be an album by Aya Kamiki. Tomi was thrilled by the gift, but Maria hadn't seemed terribly fond of it. The next day, The next day, she'd tossed her copy back on her father's desk. Figuring that throwing it away would be a waste, Osawa had stuck the CD into his computer to give it a listen. He was immediately bombarded by an intense beat bolstered by bold, uplifting vocals. Aya Kamiki wrote her own lyrics, which did a fine job of conveying the emotions of a teenage girl. Osawa could hardly believe it. After listening to just one track, he was well and truly hooked. Before the day was out, he had purchased her entire discography. Huh? He muttered. For Tomorrow should have been in the CD rack, but there was no sign of it. Where the heck is it? Why isn't it here? For a moment, he wondered if he was going crazy, and then he remembered. It was at the lab. He'd wanted something to listen to on break at work, so he'd brought the album there. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Not being able to listen to it made him want to hear it all the more. It wasn't like he could go out and buy another copy right now either. He'd just have to borrow the copy he'd given to Hitomi all those years ago. Unable to contain his need to hear that music, he went into Hitomi's room. There he quickly rummaged through the CD rack beside his daughter's bed. Part of him felt like he was being a little sneak thief. According to the email Tanaka had shown him, someone was trying to kill Hitomi. Under the circumstances, he knew that what he was doing was ridiculous, and yet he still couldn't resist the impulse to find this CD. But his efforts were to no avail. There were no Aya Kamiki CDs in the rack at all. Osawa pulled out every CD on the rack, but they were all classical music. He slumped back in disappointment. It had to be somewhere in her room. Osawa jumped at the sound of his cell and fumbled to get it out of his pocket. Makino's name was displayed on the LCD screen. I'm out front. And that was all Makino said before hanging up. Hurriedly, Osawa began tidying up the CD rack. As he worked, he thought about what he was going to say to Makino. To think that someone had violated corporate policy to such unethical ends. It sullied his research. Osawa wasn't about to let anyone get away with it. And yet, he was about to leave Hitomi's room. As he was about to leave Hitomi's room, a sudden uncertainty gripped him. He hesitated. Did he have any right to condemn Makino for running trials in secret? His hand began to sweat as it gripped the doorknob. No, he didn't. How could he? His hands were dirty in all this too. We need to keep this a secret, just between us. It'll be fine. We've already cleared animal testing. Who did he... The memories hovered. Osawa himself had already administered the antiviral to someone, hadn't he? It was the only way. Muttering to nobody in particular, Osawa trudged toward the front door of his house. Oh, shit. That's crazy. So So I got you need to get back to the office ASAP. So, okay, so I got him to head back to the office. But now what I need to do is I need to So a certain someone needs to give the two better advice, and a certain other someone needs to meet up with them outside his or her house. So, would this change be in Osawa's timeline? Or in Osawa's section? Because it does say someone needs to meet him out inside or outside their own house. Sure, go ahead. Because I already got a to be continued. on this, but I'm not sure if this will be okay. If I had to guess, it'll probably be this choice. Oh, wait. Now, would you please leave me alone? He got up to leave the study. Sir, hold on. There's something I want to give you. Ah, so he does get it. He does get a different thing. I don't need a damn banana. Oh, no, he doesn't. Osawa fled the room. He needed to be alone, if only for a few moments. But even if he could somehow shake Kajiwara, the other detectives all had eyes all over his house. He had reached the limits of his patience. He couldn't even think straight anymore. He headed for the back door, just trying to avoid the police. Opening the door quietly and he slipped across the yard and out through the back fence. He didn't want to venture too far from the house. Found a tiny alley and took cover there, thankfully for a few moments to himself at last. While there, he caught sight of a man and a young girl, a father and his daughter, running past on the main road. It looked as if they were running from something. The man glanced anxiously back over his shoulder, dragging his daughter by the hand. Osawa watched absently as the pair rounded a corner and disappeared from sight. Not long after, a pair of thuggish-looking men came running along, heading in the same direction. "You there!" one of them called out. "You see a guy and his daughter around here?" Teruo Toyama and his daughter Hana. They've come to Shoto while running from loan sharks. Just moments ago, Toyama was talking on the phone with Morikawa. "They should have come by this way." There was a hint of menace in his voice. Osawa feigned ignorance. "I don't think so, no." "Come on, Yutaro, let's go," said the older man. "All right," replied the other. The two dashed off in the direction the father and daughter had gone. Osawa took several long, deep breaths. He managed to calm down slightly, but the worry gnawing away at him inside him still lingered. Osawa groaned inwardly when he got back to his study. "You're still here?" "Yes, sir. I was told to keep my eyes on you after all." "Believe me, it shows. Mr. Osawa, if you're going to go outside, I'd appreciate it if you let me know first." What? Had Kajiwara realized he'd snuck off out of the house? More importantly, Kajiwara reached back into his suit pocket. "I've been meaning to give you this." He held out a small plastic bag. It was inside scrap paper of some sort. "What's that?" Osawa asked. "This is what was clogging the toilet, sir." With some hesitation, Osawa took hold of the bag. "Huh? The passenger is listed as Kenji Osawa." And now... Wait. The two detectives took up position on the opposite sides of the plaza. Kano called up Sasayama on his cell phone. "You ready?" he asked. "Just give the word." There were only two non-Japanese people in the nearby crowd. Both were eyeing their surroundings anxiously. Kano was certain the handoff was about to take place. And then... Well, what? Oh. I guess that didn't change anything. One choice is incorrect. Maybe... Yeah, maybe I was thinking about it backwards. So that choice changed something. Oh, wait. I'm gonna read from here. Osawa fled the room. He needed to be alone, if only for a few moments. But even if he could somehow shake Kajiwara, the other detectives all had eyes over his house. He had reached the limits of his patience. He couldn't even think straight anymore. He headed for the back door, trying to avoid the police. Opening the door quietly, he slipped across the yard and out through the back fence. He didn't want to venture too far from the house. He found a tiny alley and took cover there, thankfully for a few moments to himself at last. Sorry that I'm adjusting my seat a lot. He hadn't been there long when he caught the sight of a man and a young girl. A father and his daughter running past on the main road. It looked as if they were running from something. The man flashed a look back over his shoulder, then shook his daughter by the hand, and he pulled her off the road. They crouched behind some bushes, hiding. As he looked around, wild-eyed, he spotted Osawa watching him from the alleyway. "Help!" the man called out. "Help me! Please! If these guys catch me, Oh!" The father's eyes went wide as he got a look at Osawa's face. You're... Huh? Huh? Osawa thought he recognized the fugitive too, though he couldn't remember from where. "There are some really nasty guys after us," the man said. "I know I have no right to ask you this, but please at least help me keep my daughter safe." "Probably you should go to the police if..." "No! They won't be able to help me with this. Please, I'm begging you! Help me!" I'm sorry, but..." Please, if not me, then at least help my daughter, the man pleaded. Osawa looked down at the girl. Unlike her father, she was calm and reserved. She reminded him of Maria just a little. Osawa couldn't just stand idly by. He decided to help them evade their pursuers. All right, follow me. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. He led the two back to his house, into the storage shed out back. You can lay low in here for a while if you like, he said. The shed was fairly large. There was plenty of space for the man and his daughter. I'm so sorry, the man said. I'm not sure how I can possibly thank you. Don't worry, Osawa. Osawa closed the shed door and headed back to take a look around. Two thuggish-looking men came running up to him. No doubt these were the people the father and daughter were running from. You there! The one in sunglasses. You see a guy and his daughter around here? They should have come by this way. There was a hint of menace in his voice. A man and his daughter. Ah, yes, I think I saw them run through here. Which way'd they go? That way. Sweet, we almost got him. The pair sped away. Osawa waited until they were fully out of sight, then called out to the shed. All right, they're gone. The door stayed closed, however. I'm really sorry, the man called back from inside. Those guys might come back this way. Is it okay if we hide out here a little while longer? He sounded desperate. Pitiful, really. Sure, go ahead, Osawa said. With that, he headed back inside. Evidently, he just wasn't going to get any time alone today, no matter where he went. And now we can do this. The two detectives took up position on opposite sides of the plaza. Let me make the lighting menacing. This is serious. You ready? He asked. Just give the word. There were only two non-Japanese people in the nearby crowd. Both were eyeing their surroundings anxiously. Kano was certain the handoff was about to take place, and sure enough... Hagrid. The second man approached the one holding the attaché case. After exchanging a scant handful of words, he took the case and walked off. Sasayama? I'll handle the guy with the case. Got it. Sasayama broke out into a run, chasing after the man who'd taken the ransom. Kano just hung up his phone and rushed to close the distance with the other man. You there! Stop where you are! The suspect turned and Kano recognized his face. He was indeed a member of the foreign... That's not me, that's Hagrid! I don't look anything like that. He was indeed a member of the foreign crime syndicate that operated in Shibuya. Is the hostage safe? Kano demanded. The man's only response was an unsettling grin. Answer me! But though he repeated the question, the man remained silent. Kano took out a pair of handcuffs. Wait. Yeah, he took out his phone to check in with Sasayama. I literally cannot lose on any of these decisions. I've got the suspect in custody, he said. How's your end? Sasayama hesitated. He got away from me. What about the attaché case? I'm sorry, but he's still got to be around here somewhere. I'm gonna look around some more. Sasayama hung up and Kano slipped his phone back into his pocket. As he did, the man pulled a knife from his breast pocket and swung it right at Kano's face. Kano managed to jerk away in time, but his momentum carried him too far backward and he sprawled onto the pavement. Damn! The suspect was already making a run for it. Suddenly, a large car of foreign make skidded to a halt, blocking off the man's escape route. A tall Caucasian man jumped out. He wore sunglasses and a crisp suit. Now cornered, the fleeing suspect brandished a knife. Be careful! But Kano didn't even have time to finish shouting his warning. There was a metallic twing, and the knife went flying through the air. The man in the sunglasses had snapped his right foot up, sending the weapon flying. The attacker's jaw dropped in astonishment. The newcomer proceeded to elbow him right in the face. The blow connected and the suspect went down hard. Oh! The fallen man turned his head to look at Kano. His mouth moved as if he was attempting to say something. He never got it out. The man in the sunglasses kicked him in the face. With a groan, the perp slumped down, unconscious. Hey! Kano snapped. What the hell are you doing? He stormed over to the man with the sunglasses. The man nonchalantly dusted his suit off. You were ordered to watch and see where these guys went, right? Bro, this guy's about to tell him that that Kano's like the fucking one or something. I don't know. He spoke in fluent Japanese. Imagine that you are a Japanese person who has never been in a situation where you suddenly had to speak to a foreigner. You haven't used English in ages, your tension grows. You think back to English class in school, but nothing you remember is helpful. You muster up the courage to choke out a stammered, do you? The foreigner responds fluently in your own language. Nihongo de daijoubu desu. It's all right, I speak Japanese. What happened to that Japanese sense of honor I've heard so much about? Who are you? I'm from the U.S. Embassy's Regional Security Office, the man replied. An embassy is where ambassadors from a foreign country lodge and conduct much of their official diplomatic business. Under international law, ambassadors are guaranteed diplomatic immunity, and the embassy grounds are considered territory of the home nation. The U.S. Embassy's Regional Security Office is responsible for the security of American diplomatic facilities and personnel and provides American citizens in Japan with information on public order. It is located in Akasaka, in the Minato ward of the Tokyo metropolis. I was expecting Asaska, or what? I don't know. He presented Kano with his ID. Jack Stanley. His title was listed as Security Assistance Officer. Kano glanced at the car he'd shown up in. The license plate was blue with white lettering. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs? But the ministry wouldn't just send some diplomat to intervene in a police investigation. What's your name, detective? Stanley asked. Kano, from the Shibuya precinct. Alright, Kano. I'm gonna need you to follow my instructions for the next while. Why's that? Instead of answering, Stanley took out his cell phone and made a quick call. After a few moments, he held the phone out for Kano. Here, permission from your boss, he said. What? Kano squawked. He took the phone out gingerly, bracing himself. Kano speaking. You imbecile! What the hell were you thinking? It was Kuze, and he was furious. Understandably so, really. Kano had disobeyed a direct order, and for what? All he'd accomplished was losing track of the attaché case. I'm sorry, sir. You really think sorry is gonna cut it? You're off the force, Kano. Kano slumped, defeated. He had no reply. He knew he deserved whatever punishment he got. Still, orders from up top didn't trump the hostage's safety. If he could have gotten back and done it all again, he was sure he'd made the same call. Maybe that meant he wasn't detective material, but so be it. That's what I want to tell you, Kuze continued. But for now, I need you to follow the instructions of the guy there, Stanley. Do whatever he tells you. Sir? Kano hadn't seen that one coming. He disobeyed orders. That was undeniable. And yes, he knew he deserved a reprimand. But being ordered to tag along with some stranger who just turned up out of the blue? What the heck? May I ask why the U.S. Embassy is involved with this? No more questions, Kano. Step in line. Please, just hold on. Sir, I have no idea what's going on here. Kuze let out an exasperated sigh. That makes two of us, kid. And with that, the director hung up. It sounded like even Kuze didn't have the whole story here, which meant that orders were coming from someplace higher. A foreign syndicate moving the ransom around, the U.S. Embassy. Whatever was going on, it was more than just a local kidnapping case, and Kano was deep in the middle of it. He handed the phone back to Stanley. A few moments later, two detectives from the MPD arrived on the scene. Stanley handed over the fallen criminal to them. You're chasing a bum lead, you know, Stanley said as he watched them carry the man away. What do you mean? Kano asked. I mean, this kidnapping isn't about the money. My priority is the girl's safety. Right now, your priority is doing what I tell you to do. Kano gave him a scowl, but Stanley ignored it. That guy we just arrested, he asked. He tell you anything? No, nothing, Kano said. Really now? All trace of emotion drained from Stanley's eyes. His gaze pierced Kano like icy daggers. He had held a glimmer of something dangerous. Something Kano had seen plenty of times since he joined the force. He wasn't looking into the eyes of some diplomatic liaison. No. This was a man who knew how to kill, who'd killed people before. With some effort, Kano managed to regather his sense of professionalism. He didn't tell me anything, he repeated. I just know that he's a member of some foreign crime syndicate that works out of Shibuya. I probably know of some of their hangouts. Show me, Stanley said, cool as an automaton. We'll take my car. Kano wiped away some of the sweat that had beaded on his brow as they headed for the vehicle. He was just sliding along into the passenger seat when Kuze radioed over the wireless. Okie dokie, folks, listen up. Okie dokie, folks, listen up. The childish tone was back in his voice, full force. Kano stiffened on reflex. He knew what that meant. So, Hitomi Asawa has, gone missing. What? Kano couldn't believe his ears. Wasn't Tateno supposed to be protecting her right now? Also, Detective Tateno hasn't radioed in. And, we can't reach him from our end either. No way, Kano blurted out. Can't be. So, yeah, Kuze continued, he might have gotten caught up in this incident too. It wasn't like a detective of Tateno's stature to go incommunicado during an investigation. Is the old man chasing after them, Tateno? It could only mean that something had happened to him. Something major. Hmm. Wow. Who can you trust? What's on the line? I haven't gotten my fill for tonight, so let's see what that presentation is going to end up being. Bottles of burning hammer litter the pavement. Tom is so cool. Bottles of burning hammer litter the pavement, shattered into tiny bits of glass. Even if the recycling guy was really careless with the boxes, it shouldn't have caused this much of a mess. Looks like someone came along and actually threw them all over the place. The heck with this thing! I toss away the miracle stone, which has clearly brought me only bad luck. You can't have a product demo without a product, which in turn means I won't be getting paid for this whole fiasco. Okay, we can do this. We can figure out something out. I try to give myself a pep talk, but I hear the doubt in my own voice. I try to brainstorm anyway. Finding inspiration is like trying to squeeze blood from a stone. I rack my mind for the best course of action, and at long last I arrive at a conclusion. Somehow or another, I'm going to have to sell some burning hammer. The flyers have already been handed out. People have come to the demo expecting to get burning hammer. I may have to put it into some new bottles, and possibly water it down some. But getting this stuff sold is my only option. My eyes alight on one of the cardboard boxes, and I notice an odd mark that's stamped on it. Wait a sec. I've seen this before. I recall something Cheery said earlier. This is the sort of thing they'd sell in 100 yen shops or something. The mark on the box is the same one that I saw at the shop that's selling the necklace. Sit, I can see if there's more at that knick-knack shop. Guided by this ray of hope, I head for the knick-knack shop as fast as I can run. A glimmer, a sliver, the ever-dwindling light in the distance. Point is, there's not much. As soon as I reach the main road, I crash right into someone. It's Cheery. Oh, hey, you find it? She asks. She makes it sound like it's not really her problem. Not yet, but I think we can stock up at the 100 yen shop. The words are hard to get out when I'm panting as hard as I am. For now, just stay calm and go let the boss know. Got it. Leave it to me. Cheery nods and I break back into a run. I'm practically praying as I rush into the knick-knack shop, where I immediately spot the cardboard boxes I saw earlier still stacked up. Yes, I'm in luck. I dive into one of the boxes to check what's inside. It's packed with tiny bottles. There's no mistaking the noxious red liquid inside. That's burning hammer, all right. There's 50 bottles per box, and there are 4 boxes total. Assuming each bottle is 100 yen, including the tax, I can buy the whole lot with the 20,000 that I've got in my wallet. Mr. Yanagashita said he was selling the bottles at the demo for 15,000 yen apiece. That way, if we sell all 200 bottles, he'd be able to pay back his debts and no problem. Whoa, what's the deal with you? What? The sales clerk's eyes go wide when he sees my getup. This stuff! I'd like your entire stock! I point at the burning hammer, and the clerk makes an awkward face. Oh. Ew. I hate you. I'm afraid that's already been sold. What? You mean like all of it? Nobody in their right mind could possibly want all of this. Yes, all of it, I'm afraid. Well, I'm not going to roll over that easily. Whether I earn that extra 20,000 or not hinges on whether I can get this stuff. Please, you've got to help me out. I'm afraid it's out of my hands. Then could you get in touch with the buyer? Tell them I'm willing to negotiate. I suppose that wouldn't be an issue, but actually, would you mind waiting for just a moment? She said she'd be by ASAP. She. After 5 minutes of waiting, the buyer still hasn't shown up. I don't think she's coming, I say. That's odd, the sales clerk murmurs. She said on the phone she'd come by just after 1 o'clock to pick them up. I really need this right away. I understand that, but please, it's out of my hands. By now the sales demo has already started. If I come back empty-handed, what was the point of all this effort? Gimme. I've already said I can't do that. Gimme. Would you please wait a moment? Urgh. Why did I spend all that time trying to hand out samples? Why did I put this stupid costume on? Why did I miss out on lunch? Why? What was it all for? Eek! Look over there. It's the Chupacabra. Huh? Yoink. Seizing the moment, I snatch up the boxes of burning hammer and make a run for it. Hey, hold it right there, miss. The sales clerk is quick to bar my path. Woof. I barrel my way right past him. I bump him harder than I intended as I race by. He loses his balance and goes crashing through the display case at the front of the shop. At the same time, I hear something else topple over with a thud and a gurgle. Some sort of liquid begins to gush from a red polyethylene container. Uh-oh. The sales clerk's eyes go wide, his stare fixed on something on the sidewalk nearby. It's a cigarette. Oh, no. Oh, fuck. Oh. And now for today's news. Shortly after 1 o'clock this afternoon, there was an explosion at a variety store in Ugadawacho in Shibuya, the cause of which remains unknown. Eyewitnesses report seeing an individual wearing a full-body cat costume fleeing the scene in the aftermath of the explosion. Police consider this individual a person of interest and have not ruled out the possibility that this bombing was a terrorist act. Several hours after the incident, the cat remains at large. Tama wound up as the prime suspect in an apparent terrorist bombing. If the buyer had shown up earlier, Tama's argument with the sales clerk might never have happened, to say nothing of the rest. As a matter of fact, the buyer was just outside the shop at the critical moment. That she was held up when she happened to run into someone. That someone's actions at 12:05 or at 1:05 are the key to changing Tama's fate. Brother, that's insane. the burning hammer incident is crazy. I wonder who it is that I have to go to next. But I will leave that for next time. Thank you everybody for coming to the stream tonight. I'm really continuing to like this game. It's proper intriguing. I am very much looking forward to seeing how we can avoid Tama from being a fugitive. So, thank you all very much for coming tonight. I hope to see you in the next stream, whenever that is. And I hope you all have a great night in the meantime. Take care, everybody, and good night. Bye.